I'm here with the president of the Umbrella Corporation, known as President Evil, who's going to tell us about some Playmates 1993 Ninja Turtles on the Boba Joe show today.
President Evil, I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
It was a bad pun
from
used to be in games magazines in the 90s, or we used to get the buy, sell, and exchange newspaper back in Christchurch, back when like print was actually a thing for like instead of like online classifieds, and we'd always look in there for like secondhand video games. And one of the typos, because the way you did these ads is you would call up on an actual telephone, ordinary landline, you'd call up and say, I want to put an ad in the buy, sell, exchange, please. And you put your ad in, but the people are just going typing it in. They don't know anything about video games. They're just doing a classified ad because it was free to advertise. But President Evil was one of the typos. So it used to appear, we'd read through each week looking for bargains, but we'd look for the crazy typos. Another one was like, I think it was like Alex Kidd, or Tomb Raider was like Womb Raider, or something weird like that. There was all sorts of weird like typos and stuff that would go on there. We would be reading them out to each other and just falling on the floor laughing while we were playing like bloody Super Street Fighter on Super Nintendo at the time.
I always get my fingers in my 3-finger turtle configuration when we're about to talk about turtles.
Oh, that's pretty good. And you know what you can do with that is you can take and put them together. DDP.
Diamond Cutter.
Yeah, we've done the previous year's catalogs, and thanks to some fans who scanned and uploaded some of these, which I don't know any of them, did just on some publicly accessible forums and that. Thanks to those folks for these high quality scans, are up to the 1993 catalog, which is a massive catalog because it's got all the new stuff, plus it's got pretty much everything from the previous years they've like re-released again, just like Joe and Transformers did in the 80s and He-Man, where you'd get year 1, 2, 3. They would pretty much re-release just about everything, like reissue year to year, so you could catch up if you missed anything.
Yeah, Playmates were great for letting you know what came before and making sure you knew what came prior to what you're looking at. But
yeah, and they're really good catalogs.
Big year.
And they are like retailer catalogs. It's not one you're going to pick up in the store. This was sent out to potential like licensees, or people that are in charge of an area going, oh, we're going to buy a group of this for our groups and shops and distribution or toy fairs or whatever. It's aimed at the people who are the buyers, the mass buyers, to go out to retail stuff, these catalogs. So they would like the Kenner one we looked at and the Ken Alien stuff. They would typically be like landscape sideways and like high glossy magazine paper and all that, and sometimes bound, sometimes in rings, but they usually be like quite good quality.
Some very toony looking turtles I see here in
these
images.
And we get these very 90s kids with very toon turtles in there.
A kid with the Leonardo on his head, he kind of has this mixed expression on his face. He's like, I'm happy that Leonardo is there, but also there seems to be retro mutagen ooze about to fall on my head.
Don't worry, kid. We covered you up in our thumbnail with the Boba Joe logo just to keep you happy. But yeah, they've got all the usual gang of idiots are in the catalogue from the earlier waves. But the newer stuff they're really pushing here, we had the third movie. We've got Mutations, which are otherwise known as like transforming or Beast Wars style turtle figures, such as this Razar I picked up, just got this week for the first time ever. I've never had it before. He's in this catalogue. And there's quite a few more giant sized turtles and, gimmicks and whatnot. Before we get into those ones, I'll just have a quick look at what's in here. So they've got in the brief here, which is going out to marketing company people, this little page here. It's got, dude, 6 years ago, we tore through the sewers and stormed the streets. We were green against brick, weird phrasing, and nothing was going to stop us. This year, we're breaking down the wall again. To prove it, just look what Playmates Toys has on store for 93. Ninja Turtles 3. It's high amphibious adventure way back in 16th century Japan. That's right, dudes. In this turtle flick, all 4 of us travel back in time to rescue April and save a village from a mean and totally demented warlord. And it goes on like that. And they've mentioned Burger King. They've got a Burger King promotion there. And down at the bottom, they say, so far, in the previous years, they've done over 2 billion in retail sales, which is not just the action figure line, but I would assume that would be all merchandise, sleeping bags, and other bullshit.
That's some crazy amount of money.
Yeah, like it was Star Wars and He-Man money as far as the toy line of it.
We're kind of only at the, well, we're a little bit past the midway point, I suppose. By 97 or 96, 97, you've got a real decline, but we're still in a fairly sweet spot here where we're looking today in the timeline of the toys.
Yeah, it's still kind of in the apex or peak of the Turtles, or maybe it's just beyond the peak and about to go over and take a nosedive, as every property eventually does. Nothing can just run forever and be completely 100% successful year to year. I mean, just look at bloody Motu in the 80s. They did like so many millions in sales year 1, year 2, year 3, or whatever. They put out way too much product and they took a massive loss because they were projecting this exponential growth. We're going to the top of Mount Everest. I'm like, no, you got 3/4 of the way, then you fell off and hit your head and fell into a crevasse, and that was the end of that. It happens to so many of these companies. And I did also have in the Playmates in the next couple of years. They lost like millions as well.
Yeah, they didn't make it to the peak, and we'll find their corporate corpse thawed out in a few years' time. One of those
I will
crevices.
climb over that corpse on the way to build up the next brand or next thing that comes along.
Straight off the bat here, though, they're telling us this: their mutating turtle figures probably won't fit in their mutating vehicles. That's why they've used all the movie turtles for these pictures.
Yeah, because they've got those slightly more. They don't have any more articulation, but they've got those rubbery joints that bend a little bit, so you can kind of do a bit more with them. And I never owned any of the first movie style turtles. And when I saw them in the store, I remember thinking, why the hell are they covered in pimples and stuff? Because they're more like the movie 2 style, where they got more of that acne stuff on them. Yes. And I never really liked them a heck of a lot, but when you see them up close, if you actually hold one in your hand, the sculpting's really nice, and the shell is like super detailed, and there's actually a lot of good work that went into those ones. They're still freaky looking though.
They are. But yeah, like for the time, they were pretty cool what they managed to actually do with them.
And they were more posable. Like they had not just rubbery arms that would bend a bit, like a Stretch Armstrong or whatever, but not to that extent. But they were a bit bendy. But also the arm shoulder joint was quite loose. It would rotate around almost in the way our modern figures have extra joints and shit in there. You could get almost that kind of range of motion out of it.
We see from this picture, though, it actually works a charm, that articulation, especially if you want to pop them in a vehicle and have them actually sitting in a natural pose, not sitting like they're on the toilet or whatever.
Yeah, because you can't
on the toilet with your feet kicked out.
Pretty much. I mean, here's Super Mike, who's going to come up later on this catalog. He's a reissue they did in the last 12 months, but he's still got those basic turtle legs that can go. I mean, that's it. You're not going to get this guy in a sitting position at all. Forget it, unless you want to pop the legs completely off. They're just that's it.
Which many of us did do, I'm sure, as kids. We gave it that little bit of extra.
One thing they did add to these guys is look, he's got a waist twist gimmick, which is pretty much the He-Man Power Punch gimmick. I didn't even know it had that until I got the reissue, and I was like, whoa, it's flicking around.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I also did not realize that they had that feature.
Yeah, I was very lucky they reissued that in the last year or so. Like those bloody super ones, because they've got there's Super Bebop. He's also got the waist thing. He also twists around. Like that figure now sells for like $200 or $300 Australian dollars in package, but you can still get the reissue now for like cheap, and it's even like on sale some places right now.
Some interesting nameage going on here with our first example on this page. Road Ratty Leo, but he looks a lot more like Road Ratty Donatello to me.
It's very purple.
I can even see a D on his back. Leonardo.
Yeah, I wonder if I've never owned that toy, so I'm assuming by the time they got it to retail, they must have fixed it on the package, not called him Leo.
I think so. I actually, would you believe, I have this exact toy still in its
Yeah.
box, and I
Does it have
can't.
a
I just
D or an
remember
L on them?
noticing. I'm pretty sure the name is correct on the box,
Right.
whichever he's supposed to be. What an awful.
I know, that is so bizarre. And just when he transforms into the fire truck, like just the big head floating, it's like a decapitated Donatello head in there.
And even though like it looks insane, it kind of looks terrible, and yet at the same time, I kind of love it because it's so
Yeah,
crazy. It's
I never owned any of these. I was aware of some of them and seeing them. I don't know if I saw them in the stores, but I saw some version of catalogs back then. And I looked at them, and being a Transformers fan, I'm like, these are just like really bad Transformers, even by the quality of what was coming out then. Because this was '93, so not long after this, we were going to get Beast Wars, which had some pretty amazing sculpts and cool toys.
already Shredder though looks pretty decent in both
Yeah,
forms,
yeah,
and
he definitely looks better than the other weirdo.
at least in his human form he can actually stand upright, unlike the actual
Yeah,
standard Shredder
yeah,
who looks like
the
he's taking a
shredder
poop.
actually looks quite decent. If you take the bloody nipple antenna off him, he actually looked quite decent as a figure.
And even the humongous head inside the vehicle isn't as,
Yeah. Well, that one makes
jarring.
sense because it's in the right place. It's not like the Donatello one where he's taking up what would be 4 seats in a giant truck cab with this giant head, like Kaiju Donatello.
Yeah, you could almost get away with the Shredder being like
Yeah,
that mutant module looks like it could be a single person mutant module like you used
yeah,
to see in the
yeah. Makes
cartoon
more
the odd
sense.
time.
So here we get Road Ready Splinter. This is the one that made me laugh when I saw it as a kid, but actually it looks fairly decent. But just he's so square and so boxy is what made me laugh. And then what the one I called Jazz Donatello because he's a Porsche. Well, actually, this is
And he
called
just
Raph, and he's purple again.
yeah,
These are clearly mock-ups. These are clearly early stage mock-ups where they haven't like finalized the designs. I'd say.
either that or their catalog people were just really sleeping on the job that they
Yeah,
weren't paying attention at all. Yeah, it's crazy looking at the Splinter to think how because they actually do the silhouette of the van very well.
the van
It's
looks
amazing.
nice. Just the splinters, like he's just like he looks like he's like really buff, like really buffed up, but also he's got like a big sheet of cardboard or metal behind him, making him completely flat for some
Yeah,
reason.
yeah, it's from turtle leader to turtle transport. It says amazing.
Yeah, it's weird. That's turtle transport instead of turtle van, and we get foot transport instead of mutant module. So it's like also it's like whoever's writing this doesn't seem to know what the things are actually called. But road ready stock car makes sense. You're not going to say it's a Porsche because they'll be knocking on your door going, "Hang on, where's our license money?"
But these guys look pretty cool in their
Yeah, these
art
guys are fun. The
versions, at least.
auto mutations, which is another Transformers gimmick, like auto transformations, where something moves with a simple flick or press of a thing and it kind of transforms itself. Actually, Power Rangers did this too in the same era. These are the head flipping ones, aren't they? But they've also got feet gimmicks as well.
These are the type of toys where they can kind of annoy you as a child in some ways because you're kind of dependent on the gimmick. And then once the gimmick has been activated, it usually limits the toy in some type of way because
Yeah, it
of,
does.
play feature. But they still
Yeah,
look
it's
pretty
funny.
cool, I have to say.
As a kid, these are the ones I really pretty much couldn't stand because I'm like, why are they wearing these weird outfits? Give me the proper outfits. But now I look at them
Yeah.
and see them as just cool variants on figures that I really like.
In the case though of these, like it's an auto mutation, but really it's someone putting a hood on or putting a helmet on. Like it's not
Yeah,
much of a
it's pretty
mutation,
much a head rotation gimmick, isn't it? Because I haven't had these ones, but I assume it's like the other ones where the chest opens, one head rotates, and the other head rotates up, like a lot of Transformers and stuff.
Yeah.
I like
Like you're saying.
the the night ninja, like as opposed to what, like a daytime ninja. Like,
At least they got the name right for Raph here, though. There's
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
Raph in the picture.
Yeah, they've got R on them. Well, it's almost an R. It's a bit of a squiggle, and it's got the right colors. So they managed to do that. It's kind of fun that actually Raph has got those little. I forget the name of it, like that dagger, that ninja dagger that he actually comes with in the regular standard toy that can go on his
Yes.
back, is now coming out of his feet.
He looks, I must say, they all look pretty cool in their standard, just, karate gis or whatever before
Yeah,
they've all their armor and stuff on. They just look
yeah.
like good characters, good
I
character
can't
designs,
imagine
I should
Rocksteady
say.
or Bebop having the discipline to do any
Yeah,
kind of martial arts, because they're brawlers for sure. And then we
yeah, it's
get
more like
not
pajamas in their case.
yeah, there's some like pajama party, and then we get the Night Ninja, the rest of the turtles.
Yeah, I think if I were to have these in my collection now, I would probably exclusively keep them displayed in their non-transformed forms with
Yeah,
them just all in their karate gis, I think.
yeah, I think I would too. Like, who knows what reissues they'll do in the next couple of years? Like, I'm hoping they'll do some of this other more weird stuff here, because I mean, they have done reissues of transforming Bebop and Rocksteady where they turns into the human head. They've done those about 8 months ago, but only in America, and I don't think they released them anywhere else in the world. Because I've been trying to buy it for like 8 months and I can't get it anywhere. Then we've got a few more here, which includes old Raza, who I've got on the desk here. I picked up this week for a reasonable price online. We've got Taka, Raza, Shredder, April from the random one, where she became a cat lady of Channel 6 in that episode. And then you've got like a super kind of foot soldier guy who's kind of cool with the gold head, but I don't know, is it just a random design? I mean, they did do some kind of super foot soldiers in the cartoon, but I don't know if it's referencing it or if they just made up some, nonsense thing for this toy.
I think these are definitely probably some of the prime examples of the good mutations figures we have
Yeah,
here,
I know
especially
Phil
the
has
the
the
villains.
Tocker, because when I did that talk with him last year, I was like, oh, that's quite nice looking. And that's kind of what got me out on the scheme of. Usually I look at the transforming ones and go, oh, they're a bit rubbish. I don't want them. But the Tocker here is so wide and thick. And even his clawed hands, which are part of the transformation, like a Beast Wars cheetah or whatever, he's got clawed hands that actually have articulation for the transformation, but it gives him a little extra bend in the hand, and he's got nice big proper Wolfman claws. It looks really cool. And he's
I
got
think we
proper
kind of
colored
mentioned,
gold grill on the front when you want to represent, your big grill from your car. But it's gold, not the horrible crusty yellow gold plastic we get now on toys.
I think we spoke about it a little bit when we looked at the previous year's catalog, but they did a better job, I think, making Toka and Razar look movie accurate for these
Yeah,
mutation
they look
toys
so
than they
good.
actually did with
I've
the
just
the
noticed
standard
on the
ones.
catalog he's got gold shoulder paint, but not on the toy. He's just plain grey.
Oh,
So
keeping out
that's
there
obviously
for
a
the final
catalog
production.
thing again. But he's got the yellow paint on the toenails and that looks good on the claws. Like he's got that on there.
I wouldn't mind finding one of those mutating foot soldiers. If I could get one on the cheap, I'd probably
Yeah, he's
just put him
pretty
in
cool.
as like a foot soldier leader or something with my other ones.
Yeah, he looks good in both modes because they're pretty much the same, just with a different deco, really. But I do like it. I've never seen it, but it's a cool looking figure. And the Shredder looks decent as well in both modes. Like
Yeah,
he's one of the good.
yeah, Shredder, that's definitely one of the better. It's funny, like how nearly every Shredder, apart from the original one that you
You
wanted
mean
to be
bad guy
the
leader?
girl.
It's on
Yeah,
the catalog.
yeah, the Catwoman April is probably the weakest of this bunch, but at least they
Yeah,
gave
but I don't
us
mind
that
it.
figure.
She just
Yeah, it's
looks
still
like
a
she's doing some kind of weird dance or something, some kind of Euro dance.
yeah. She's like a disco Thundercat or something.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the weakest link, but it's still a reasonable. Like, I would buy it cheap, but I wouldn't pay crazy money for it. But it probably goes for crazy money, I bet, like some of these toys do. So now we've got
That's
original mutations. This is like ones I've done previously. So this Bebop and Rocksteady, they reissued them in America, I don't know, about 6-8 months ago. And they come in a nice oblong box with like a Velcro lid on the front that lifts up with really cool artwork on it. So it's like those reissues in America are like normal price, but to get them outside, you're paying over $100 to get them on import, thanks to bloody scalpers that bought them from wherever.
I'd love to get that Bebop and Rocksteady. They look great
Yeah,
in both modes, I think, both as humans and in their mutated modes. They look
they
fantastic,
do. Like, they do
especially
look
for the
good on
time.
both.
I have the Splinter, but I
Oh,
have
that's
my
that's
Splinter. The
the earlier one where he's just Hamato Yoshi and not the crazy turtle
Yes,
van.
yeah. I usually keep mine as a Mato Yoshi just as an excuse to have an Amato Yoshi figure out on display. I do. I have to say though, I do have a soft spot for these chubby mutating turtles. There's just something
I like
about
the
them I kind of
turtles,
like.
but I don't like their transform mode and the weird turtle.
Yes,
They've done
the
that in
turtle
every
jump. Yeah,
line since, all the way up to the modern day, and they've never really improved upon it. It's always a really basic flip the shell open, fold the limbs in, and that's about it. They've never improved upon it, so it's a bit lazy in that way.
it's the toe articulation that does it for me. So you can get them in that flat
Yeah,
footed
oh, that's that
stance.
joint. Yeah, that's that joint that's on my creep and crawl and Splinter. He has that, and that Donatello you had sitting in the chair, he's got that bending toe. It's weird that they never re-released the earlier first version turtle with the updated foot, because that part would be compatible. It's basically the same sculpted piece, just modified a bit, and it's
If it had
flat,
been,
so you can stand the bastards up.
they probably would have if it had been a modern line. They love doing stuff like that,
Yeah.
adding extra articulation and making you buy the same thing over and over again
Well, they put it
with
on
slight
some of the.
improvements.
I think they put it on those 40th anniversary ones, because I remember I was talking about that the week they announced that, and we were doing one of these other catalogs, and you had that you'd posted a picture of that Donatello in a chat thing, and I'm like, oh, that's that same joint, and I got that Splinter the week that crawls with the wind up, and I saw on those 40th anniversaries they brought back that articulated foot part, because they're so cheap they're bringing a part back from over 30 years ago rather than sculpting a new piece.
Oh, giant mutations. I never
Yeah,
saw these in real life.
I never
Ever.
saw these. I wouldn't even know they exist without the catalog or without some other online blogs and such. But even for turtle stuff, there's a couple of blogs online like Virtual Ninja Turtle Museum that go through most of the line, but some stuff there's not pictures of in that, so it's not the easiest line to know about all the variants and giant stuff and all that. It's not like when you go GI Joe Transformers, people have documented every bloody variation of everything in those lines.
It was about to comment that it looks like they didn't have weapons, but it says here that they do have weapons in the description.
Uh-huh.
So it must just be the production photo. They didn't have them finished yet.
Yeah, and at least the pull-out blurb thing tells us they're 11-inch. So, they're giant and they're 11-inch, so I have some idea what the size is. Now, this thing is interesting because this is turned up in last year's catalogue, and it's back for this year's catalogue, the Muta Party Wagon, not the Turtle Van, but I mean, the Party Wagon is the proper name for the toy. And it does look like the Turtle Van in that mode. And then we flip it up, and we get what's like baby's first Transformer, where it's just the underside is a robot and the arms just rotate to here. So it kind of looks like garbage, but it's weird and it's still cool. And but if I would have liked to have owned it, and then what did they finally release in the last 12 months? But from Hasbro.
Yeah, see, that's right. We have our own turtle van transforming transformer turtles now.
But do you know the key difference between the Hasbro one and this one?
Well,
Look
the
at the head
Hasbro
on this
ones.
one, and look at his head in the color scheme. It's metalhead.
Oh, the head. Yeah, it's definitely metalhead. It's definitely
Whereas
metalhead.
the new
Supposed to be in
the
this one.
transforming one from Hasbro is not metalhead. It's one toy with four heads that are
Yes.
the four turtles. It's like, why the fuck did they make metalhead a complete? It's like they do this homage to this thing that never got made, but they didn't do it right. Why did they? And metalhead's a fucking robot. Come on.
So, what scale is this? Like, is that Donatello figure an actual, like,
That
full
seems to be a
size?
full size one, which is probably why they never released this, because look how bloody crazy big that is. But it would be hollow
Yeah.
plastic. It would be big and hollow.
Oh, so this
But yeah,
actually
as
never
far as I
made
know,
it
that's a full
to
size Donatello.
they never actually released this officially then, did they?
Never at all. This is that whatever mock-up they made for this catalog, I would say that was the single only version ever existed. Who knows if they did a wax or clay or sculpture shit. I'm saying this is clearly plastic here, They clearly designed and made this thing. You can see pins or rivet style pins on the side of it.
Yes.
So it clearly actually works and exists. It's not just a mock up. Like it's some kind of pretty close to final version, but it was never released. So I don't know why. I don't know anything about it other than what's in these catalogs and all the stuff I've come across in the years and like interviews with people and print magazines and YouTube. It's something that almost never comes up. And I've never seen anyone, there's no podcast where it's like so-and-so used to work there, just like, the Transformers ones. You can find guys that used to work there 10 years ago, 20 years ago, tell you all the inside stories and what was coming out, what got cancelled and all that. I've never heard any stories about this other than just seeing it in the catalogue.
This is like, if I had been if they had released this and I'd been in a position to get it, I definitely would have, just to have a second go at getting a turtle van at the time. Because like when you look at that van, like I know because I'm looking at my actual van and I'm looking at this picture, they've clearly used parts from the original turtle van, and then you can see that, like, say like the satellite and the two guns actually attached to his arms and his head, which is a pretty cool use of parts there.
It's very basic, like a like a kid. I mean, it's a kid's toy, but it's like rescue bots as opposed to Masterpiece Transformers. But it works, and it would look like it would be a good toy that would stand up to being played with and bashed around by a kid without breaking.
Yeah, and like the standard party wagon was essentially a solid plastic brick anyway, so I'm sure this would have been sturdy.
So
it says here
back in the day when they were releasing all this stuff, they did Technodrome, they did Mutant Module. They did a million vehicles, but the big stuff, you had the blimp. This would have been the next biggest thing without the actual party wagon. And plastics were cheaper, petrochemical oils were cheaper. There's no reason price-wise they couldn't release this. So I don't know why they would have cancelled it or what happened. I've got no idea. They were still cranking out so much stuff at this time. It's kind of an anomaly that they didn't, but who knows? Maybe they got to the next year and maybe they looked at the financials and went, stuff's going downturn. This is a big toy. Let's just put out the basic figures and scrap the, big new vehicle thing.
This these always go for a pretty penny online these days. The band, I think we mentioned this in our last catalog chat as well.
Yeah,
like if you're looking to get that, those Rockstar Turtles and that tour bus can be quite expensive to try and pick up these days if you want this.
Yeah, it's such a like kind of.
It's cool.
I love that it's got the. I love that the guy driving the bus is not just regular Splinter, but it's the creeping, crawling, wind up stealth ninja Splinter, and he's got the same angry face from the card artwork driving the bus.
The Muta Carrier is very cool looking vehicle too.
Yeah.
And once again, we see it's our movie turtles that are being used.
Yeah, they're pushing those guys hard.
They really wanted them to replace the standard 4 turtles.
Yeah, because it's like we've got these movie turtles, and then coming up later in the catalog, we've got movie 3 turtles, or as I think of it, the kind of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves turtles. Because you look at the rest of the line, it looks like half the cast of Robin Hood.
Yeah,
and you've also got the crack cocaine Splinter with the crazy eyes.
I remember as a kid fantasizing about owning these, not so much to own them as they were, but I kind of like the idea of having other samurai turtles to go with my Sewer Samurai Leonardo, from the previous years.
I never
had a problem with the third movie or anything, but I just thought it would be cool.
I really enjoyed the third movie, but for the toys, I never had any desire for these because I just like, they're already ninjas. Why do they need to be bloody samurai ninjas? It's just confusing and weird. But I enjoyed the film because in the film they're in disguise so they don't get in trouble. But when the film's over, why are you still running around with samurai gear on? It's like, take it off.
Yeah,
it's not very effective ninja outfits. But no, they're objectively they're really nice sculpt, and they've taken the basic like movie 1 turtles that look like the movie 2 turtles or the pimples, and now we've added on all the samurai gear. I don't know if they reused anything, but it's the same samurai style gear you get with Usagi and Panda Khan. I think those are new parts, but it's the same basic kind of bamboo-y wood armor paneling thing on the arms and legs. But they did a really cool job with the turtles. I don't know what was going on with Splinter though. It's like he's so weird.
Splinter looks like a rat who actually ate some rat poison, and he's
Yeah,
just about to croak.
and
His eyes are like popping out of his head.
yeah. And if you remember the first version of Splinter, the first movie one was flocked and was just the original toy, but with flocking and different paint, different coat or whatever. It looked quite cool. This one's not flocked, and he's got mange or he's got lice or something. He just looks quite weird.
Yes, very unwell. He does not appear to be in good health
The
at all.
background's cool. They did a nice diorama thing here with little
I
bits
was
of
actually about
like
to
the
say,
wall and
yes, whoever took the time to do that diorama deserves praise. It looks
and
good.
actually pose them nice. For figures that can't do a whole lot of posing, they pose them pretty well, and they'll show them off all quite nicely. But then we get to all these guys, and like, if you're a kid, would you have wanted any of these? Like, to me, maybe the guy on the end looks like Genghis Khan with the big horns. He's kind of cool, but if you're into turtles and mutants and superheroes, would you have wanted any of these figures?
Funny you should say that, Johnny, because the only one I did have was that
Yeah.
guy who looked like Genghis Khan, Warlord. Um, I used to use him for sitting in my shredder mobile. He was like the pilot of
Yeah.
my shredder mobile, and he's the only
But,
one out of these that looks like you could do something with him. And yeah, you mentioned
yeah.
there earlier about it being like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. That
Well,
dude in the middle
they're
of
actually nice
water,
looking
like he's
figures, but
straight
they
out of
don't. The
Robin Hood.
scale of them outside of Turtles doesn't really. They don't fit with Star Wars. They don't fit with Kenner stuff. So if you were going to put them with something else, they don't really. Maybe you could have them fight Dick Tracy for another time travel adventure. They do have really nice paint and details on them though, and good sculpting. But they're just like so strange to have in the Turtles line. They look the aesthetic of them is like completely different than everything else.
Yeah, if I remember that dude who plays Walker, who's like the main English baddie in the third
Yeah.
movie. He's also in Waterworld, so I always think of Waterworld every time I see that figure.
And the April, like, why is she wearing such a ridiculously short modern midi skirt when it's meant to be like ancient times?
Yeah, it's just these are pretty weak, I have to say, as far as
Yeah, I think
like the
the guy on the left, he's got some nice detailing on him, and then the bloody samurai looking dude with the horns. They're like, I think they're the best looking of those figures.
yeah, I'm kind of I'm both simultaneously remembering the plot of the movie as I'm looking at these figures. If I remember correctly, when they travel through time, they replace people who are already in the time they're traveling to.
Yeah, they
So
swap. There's some like samurai dudes, which is where they get the outfits from, I think. And then the other dudes come to the present day and they hang out with Casey Jones, who was conspicuously not in the second movie, but he was back. Elias Casey is back in the third film, and now you see him these days in all kinds of like criminal crime shows and stuff.
these
Now this,
horses
I
are
think this is the
interesting.
best thing from this line. I mean, the turtles were nice.
Yeah,
This horse was really nice. This samurai war horse is a really cool sculpt. It's not articulated, nothing moves, but it's really nice, and they've reused it in just about every line since. They've re-released it in the um, bloody 2002 line and the 2012 line. They've re-released it again with Usagi because I have one of it. And when I bought it, I went, "This looks familiar." And I was looking at these catalogs, going, "Oh, it's the exact same horse, the same sculpt and everything."
yeah, like the turtle pulse, which is a catapult. We can't get our animals confused.
And this
That
is full
seems like
Robin
the
Hood
type of
mode to me when I
figure.
see all
Oh,
this.
total Robin Hood, and it comes with action figure. Well, that sounds
No, that's
exciting,
Friar
you know.
Tucker, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. And once again, though, praise to the diorama makers. They've done a good job here with
A
their
nice job,
Castle
and
mounts and
this
stuff.
little like catapult thing actually looks like it's well engineered and a good toy. I'm just like, what's it doing in the Ninja Turtles line? Where's the crazy
Yeah,
mutagen and weird colors and ooze? And
it's probably something that was either used before or used after for some type of medieval themed toy line, I'd
yeah,
imagine. Yeah, those horses though, they are pretty cool. They cost a pretty penny
yeah.
online these days if you ever look for complete
Well,
versions of these sets.
you can still buy the modern ones from the Nickelodeon era Turtles, where there's an episode in that show. This is like the CGI animated one from like 2012 from Nickelodeon Viacom. There's an episode of that where they do travel in time, or actually, it's a different dimension. Usagi Yojimbo is technically a different dimension in that continuity, not time travel. But in the episode, they visit him and they released 3 Usagi toys. I've got 2 of them from that line. And they released Samurai Turtles again from that episode. And then they used the exact same horses. They did 5. They did 1 for Usagi and 4 for each turtle in the turtle colors. And it's the exact same sculpt. So it's much cheaper to still buy those now than try and get these vintage ones. And it's the same toy.
I'm kind of reading some of this description here for the turtle pulse. So this is interesting. So it says this two-faced team player stole his scenes on the big screen, and now he's here to steal the hearts of turtle fans everywhere. Now listen to this next bit. Whether he's Cool Casey, the hockey mask wearing, high sticking 20th century tough guy, or the wily wit, the 16th century warrior from the Turtle movie. I'm not really sure what's going on here. Are they trying to say that like that Casey and this guy Wish are the same guy or something? Like,
I don't know. Or the other option is like, was Casey meant to travel back in time and switch places with that guy or something, but he didn't, and he stays in the present day? Or were they just going to make a Casey figure and they did make a Casey figure? That is some really strange copy. It's like, because there was no Casey Jones figure, and they could have made one, but who knows? Who knows if they didn't have permission from Elias Codiers or what's not? Because he didn't ever get a movie figure until the modern NECA lines, and even the first one of that didn't have his face, just had the mask. And it was only because of is it Judith Hogue that was the first April movie 1, because she was still kind of in touch and semi-friends with them in the modern day through conventions and whatever. She's the one that convinced him to actually give NECA permission to use his face on a toy. He was a little cagey about it, like, I don't know about this, and felt a bit weird about it. But she was the one that convinced him, because he'd never had a version of him in the toy line. You only had the Toon Casey.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he agreed. I wouldn't mind picking up a movie.
He's a good actor. He's a good actor.
It was nice to see him get another payday to come back for the 3rd movie as well.
Yeah, I only got a couple of months ago the Ultimate Casey that comes with the 2 heads, and it has the proper, like, his real face and all that. The other one came with that, that 2-pack where it had Raph with the trench coat.
Pretty cool set as well, I have to say.
Actually, Epic Badger posted an image last week. There was another NECA one that was Casey again, but it came with a motorbike for some reason, like a dirt bike, and I'd never seen that.
Yes,
set.
That's been and I went. I was reading our chat when he posted that picture, and I went and I was trying to Google, Casey Jones and the dirt bike, and I just could not find any reference to it on screen. It's such a weird thing. I wonder, is it from like a deleted?
I didn't know it existed. It's because it's like one of those weird NECA accessory sets, but it's got like Casey, a whole bunch of accessories, and then just a random dirt bike. And I'm like, he didn't ride a dirt bike in that film. Why does he come with a dirt bike?
Yeah, I'm trying to even think, like, is there do you see a dirt bike in the trailer that they're driving in the van? Like, I'm just trying to think of where
nothing in the trailer.
Appeared.
Like, I mean, Badger mentioned maybe in the scene in Shredder's hideout with all the stuff there. Maybe there was one in the background there, but NECA doesn't usually do random accessories, so they must have been referencing something.
I'm guessing the mold is the John Connor dirt bike from T2.
Probably.
Reused.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a reuse, because I doubt they would make an original sculpt of a dirt bike that wasn't in the movie. So for stuff that most people don't even know the set exists. So here we get the original movie star turtles, but we get giant versions of them. And now we've got movie 3 Samurai Turtles, also in a giant size. Those are very expensive. They're probably the most expensive of all the giant size figures, is these Samurai 3 one. I think because they weren't so popular, they didn't sell very well. And that's part of the reason why they're more rare and more high price. And if someone did happen to get one and opened it like a kid, those panels and those hats are going to get broken and fall off. And
yeah, plenty of stuff to get lost when you're dealing with this stuff. I have to say, what you pointed out earlier about the movie style turtles, though, that problem is kind of enhanced when they're blown up big. They do look quite ugly when you see those pimples.
Poor Donatello, man. He just to get some acne cream real quick.
They are teenagers, I suppose. They're going through that phase.
Yeah, it's quite strange because
Puberty.
movie 2 had a little bit of that. Movie 3 had some of that, but they actually, you can see the same kind of acne stuff, but it's more like liver spots on the movie 3 ones where it's dark and the dots. And then they also had that live action show from Saban, the Ninja Turtles Next Mutation, where they actually looked a lot like the spotty pimple versions again.
Yeah. Now, once again, I'm not totally dumping on them. Like, they are great for the time, but yeah, there is
I think it's their
a slight
expressions too. They're doing
unpleasantness
that
effect.
big cheesy grin that's really like, why are they making that expression like someone's just like punched them in the nads or something?
Yeah, Michelangelo is the least offensive looking out of them all. I think he looks pretty good.
He's doing like the serious face, and the other guy's like, hey, doing the big cheese for the photo. I think that's the thing that just kind of makes it like real kiddie and weird looking. Like if they didn't have such crazy expressions, because I mean you got other turtles that have weird expressions and heads, you know, all the wind up and wacky ones and that. And so they've
It's
got more
weird
role
that
play stuff.
the giant number 3 movie turtles are 2 inches
Yeah,
shorter than the original ones, which is odd.
that's
Because it says it's 13,
that's
13
quality for
inches.
you.
Yeah, 13
Yeah,
inches for the original giant
the
movie and
production
11
budget's
for
gone down. The movie budget's down. The toy budget's down. We've shrunk them down a bit. But we do get a giant size kid on this page here, though. He's the same size as those turtles, I think.
Look, we are going to, as long as we're looking at these turtle catalogs, if we end up doing more, we are going to keep on seeing the same like costume accessory sets that they
He's
just
wearing
and
green
like we
pants,
mentioned
so
before.
he's in theme there. He's got his green pants on.
Well, I'm pretty sure we mentioned this when we did our other catalogs. We still see these exact same toys more or less being
Yeah.
sold with current turtle
What's going
products.
on? That top image on the right, it's got movie 3 Mike Samurai Fun. Is that just like a random turtle finger? What is that? It's like a green sausage. What's that thing meant
Is
to
it
be?
supposed to be a nose? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Oh yeah,
Is it
maybe by the face.
attached? Is it
Yeah, it
attached
could
to
be.
the band? But you know, it's
It
funny.
just looks like a severed finger. It's weird.
Like these sets, it's supposed to be the third movie, but like it's the same set
You know, it's
again
the
that
same
we've
stuff.
seen
Like, look at
loads
the
and loads of
belt. That was
times.
just the classic black belt, like the original belt. There's nothing like the samurai style.
You've thrown in an extra ninja star accessory, maybe.
They
The
did
gold
manage to
colored
put
eyes look
like
cool.
part of the movie 3 logo on the package, so they've made some effort there for this
Yes,
repackaged forward.
just in
And then
case
in
little
the
Timmy realizes.
so onto the next page here, we get some of the very later wave stuff. This is like nothing to do with the movies. We've got Toon Turtles. We've got a redecoed original sculpt shredder in Toon style. The Toon Turtles are new sculpts. I don't think they use any. I don't know if they use any of the same parts. The heads are different. The legs are different. Maybe some of the arms and the shell parts are reused. And then we get the neutrinos, and then of course we get Vernon and Byrne and Irma, who, as a kid, I wasn't really craving any of these, but like if you're looking to expand your original characters, and we didn't really get proper Toon stuff until this wave, it's a pretty decent set of stuff.
Yes. Ironically, the turtles themselves are probably the weakest figures. It's everything
Yes,
else that's
yes.
great.
The other characters actually look like the show. The Toon Turtles are called that, but like, I only got some for the first time a few months back. They reissued these. I happened to walk into a store and they had them. And I've never had a desire for them because they got those wacky faces and I'm like, they kind of turn me off. But they were like 14 Australian dollars each. Usually these reissue figures are 25 each. And I was like, well, they had all four. And I'm like, if I walk away from this, I'm an idiot. They cheap as chips. So I bought them. And there's a little hole in the package where you could press the button and do the gimmick. Like you got pop out eyes, spinning bandana, and poke out tongue on Mikey. So the gimmick is they've all got silly gimmick heads. So really, it's a gimmick head turtle that's just another variant, as we've seen for 3 or 4 years. But then they've slapped on after the fact Toon Turtle, this brand.
Yes.
And then the first thing you do is go, well, why do their heads look so crazy and like they're on crack
Yeah.
again with their eyes bulging out of their heads?
Yeah, like for me, and if I had, you know,
Like this
access
is
to the
Wacky
funds,
Action Turtles Volume 2. Like it's what they really are.
like I would like to get the ABC characters and the IJK characters here. So the,
Yes.
essentially the news team and the neutrinos I would love to
News
get.
team assemble.
They're so expensive these days to pick up.
Yeah,
The
they are. Yeah,
characters,
they're
the
very
turtles
expensive.
themselves,
They were
not
very
so much.
late waves. They were some of the last original characters they did, these animated ones, and they didn't sell well. I remember seeing these shelf forming and nobody wanted them. So that's part of the reason they cost so much now. I've seen Super Seven's redone Mr. K, who's Zach, the neutrino. He looks quite nice. And I was never much a fan of the neutrinos, but I got so many of those Super 7 big ones now. I might get them because I've got most of the characters. I'm thinking about getting them.
The vaunted Channel 6 news van, another
Yeah.
rare oddity that many of us would love to get our hands on.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And then we get the Captain America version of the the Turtle Cycle. And I'm referencing the original live action Captain America on a bike like that.
I think we mentioned before as well in our previous catalog with the Channel 6 news van, like the interior of that actually looks more like what the turtle van should have
Yeah,
looked
it's
like
got all
when
the
they released
sculpting
it
and
first.
bits that were missing on the actual turtle van. And it's still basically a combi van with both the Channel 6 and the Turtle or Party Wagon both being references to the original Mirage VW van that April owned and drove. Presumably it belonged to her parents because it was around like the second-hand store and that.
Special exclusive collector's April action figures, so they're really
Yeah, he's
teasing
in
you here.
green. In green there. No stripper outfit or cave girl outfits this time, just the green outfit.
I love the way the Toon Cycles like action feature is that the eyes pop out of the head for like the actual front of it. It's like, wow, what a useful gimmick that is to have.
I
But
did
I actually
like
never
that
noticed.
yeah.
I'm only noticing for the first time now that you have the 4 baby turtles attached to that.
Oh
That's
yeah.
pretty cool. I never noticed that before.
I've only seen second-hand versions of that bike, which is it's the same turtle cycle with sidecar, which they don't show off very well on those photos, thanks to the big crazy face on it. But it's just repainted in blue. It's got nice silver chrome looking colors. Sometimes you find it on eBay, but it never has any of those parts. It's always missing stuff. But it's a really cool variant. I've almost bought it secondhand a few times on eBay, but it was missing everything, like including the sidecar. And I went, nah, no sidecar, no deal, man, because it was too expensive. So here we got some
Yes.
troll turtles. Trolls were another toy line that was big in the 90s, like, I don't know, Furby and Power Rangers. They were like in the zeitgeist, and Beanie Babies. They had like millions of bloody troll things. And this was like one of those jump the shark moments. I'm like, why the fuck are there troll turtles? Like, get these away from me. And then we got the Universal Monster ones. Obviously, they were still working on them because we got concept art here, not the finished toys. As a kid, I remember seeing the Universal Monster ones in the store. If I'd known what they sell for now, I could have bought a bunch of these on clearance because nobody wanted them again. I saw them and I was like, this falls into the same category to me as Star Trek Turtles. I just went, why? Why does this exist? This is nonsense. But as a fan of monster movies, mutants and turtles, looking back at them and going, they're really nice sculpts on those monster turtles. They're actually really cool figures, and I wish I had them.
Yeah, if we'd known what lay ahead of us in terms of the
Yeah,
rarity of some of these going for, and even some of these troll
yeah.
ones go for a pretty penny
And
online as
they
well.
did wave two of the Universal ones because remember they did Mike as the Invisible Man, which I think was one of the coolest ones because it had actual transparent plastic in that.
We're really starting to expand the crossover licenses during this
Yes,
era as well.
it was
I'm
one of
sure
those.
though at the time the troll turtles probably were a money spinner for them just because of the popularity of trolls. You probably had a lot of troll
Oh, for
collectors.
sure. Well, I don't blame them for doing it. I just don't want them getting away from me. But for
Yeah,
people that like trolls, like yeah, definitely, they definitely would be selling, man. Like because is, I don't know, it's like if you take Simpsons or something, it's like Simpsons with Transformers or Simpsons with something else stupid like He-Man. Someone's going to buy that. I don't want it, but someone will buy that shit.
Yeah.
But if you're already a Trolls person and you'd like how Trolls looks, like Furbies, which I also hate, because I remember my sister had one. It's like a creepy little robot thing. If you already like those things, it would just be another variant to add to your collection. It would actually be a cool thing. Like the sculpting's fine. I just can't stand Trolls. And then we've got the Ninja Action Turtles. Have you've had one of these before or not? I think you told me.
Pretty sure, yeah. Possibly
It's
not
like a gimmick where
Donatello.
it flips and
They look cool, pretty cool, just as standalone figures. As in, if you were just leaving them in their kind of posed action pose, they're pretty decent looking figures, I have to say. Definitely get the Mirage vibes off them for their like design.
yeah, they've got those little cross hatching sort of marks on them, like scratches and all that. Speaking of more Turtles crap, I'm gonna got a bunch more stuff this week. I've got bloody. I picked up a bootleg of the movie Donnie just to see what the quality was like, and it was really decent. He's out in the lounge. And I got the NECA Toon April, which I've never owned before, and I've got like about 50 bloody Toon NECA figures on that shelf behind me, and I finally got around to buying this one because it was going cheap. And it's got the 3 heads and a bunch of weird accessories. So I could open that tomorrow. And then I also got the bloody another on sale item was Mirage Splinter, as in like Mirage Volume 1 comics. That's why he's super tiny. He's like 3 inches tall. He's like the smallest Splinter they've ever done.
Very cool. Nice little haul of Turtles goodies you got your hands on this week.
Yeah, the AliExpress, I got a few things and other stuff local because they were just going cheap. And I've been meaning to buy them for a couple of years. And I was like, maybe I'll get them. Maybe I won't. Don't care. But they were cheap. I thought I might as well. I've got most other stuff. Something's going on sale that was cheap. And I'm like, why not? So I got Cartwheel and Karate Don, Jump Attack, Jiu-Jitsu Raph, Somersault Samurai Leo, Battle Ready Boxer Mike. But yeah, they're pretty cool looking. It's interesting they did go for more of that Mirage aesthetic on these guys. They're cool looking figures. And I've never seen these ones ever. I haven't seen them in retail. I don't usually find them on my like weekly trawling through eBay, looking up anything Ninja Turtles, looking up for bargains. I never see these on there.
I think, as far as and this kind of goes back to some of the more gimmicky toys we were looking at before as well, but it's like I can appreciate how they look, but I imagine as a kid your playability was pretty limited outside of what
Yeah.
the gimmick actually did.
It's like
It
a
was
bloody
very
jump starter
specific.
in Transformers. You like wind it up,
Exactly,
flip.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm bored.
Yeah. I've done this 5 times now. What else can it do? But still, they do look very
Yeah.
nice.
And then we
Oh,
get,
we're getting
after a
into,
Toon Turtles, we got this very late wave figures, which is really interesting. I mean, really, this is a couple of different waves mashed into this page. But we've got our superhero themed Mike, Don, Raph, and Mike and Don, Bebop and Rocksteady. Some of these guys are sitting next to me right now. These are the reissue guys that came out in the last 12 months. They're really good. I think they're some of the best reissues they've done. The paint looks good. The joints are good. The twisty waist power punch gimmick works. And unlike some of the other reissues, they don't seem to be missing like weird paint applications. I think because there's less actual colors on them and stuff to start with, they're fairly simple looking. But they've got really nice sculpting. Like it's a completely new head on that Rocksteady that's different than any other version. Really nice versions. And then they've got bloody Mike over here. He's got his cape and he's got his little winged boots like Thor or Captain America or whatever. So it's a really cool figure. And I didn't expect to find those, and they end up popping up online for a good price. And I was like, yep, I'm getting them. And then the rest of these guys, we've got 2 amazing figures with a whole pile of crap. Guess which are the 2 amazing guys?
I'm guessing you're going for the robotic Bebop and Rocksteady.
You've got it. You've got it. Because they've got that metal chrome on them. They're awesome designs. They're completely original sculpts. So I don't think there's any reused parts. They're nothing to do with the original Bebop and Rocksteady or other versions. New sculpts. Vac metal on them. You can't tell in that photo, but they're super shiny if you get them. they look like G1 Dinobots. It's that kind of like blind you shininess. They look beautiful. They look like they're real fake metal. And then we've got Scratch and Hotspot being the cat and the dog. We've got the half court, the giraffe dude, the camel dude, and Mona Lisa, who was in like one episode here of the Ninja Turtles. I think she's probably not a bad figure. I'd happily buy that. But by the own admission of Ryan Brown, who pretty much designed the Scratch, Hotspot, the camel, and I think the giraffe as well, he even says these are garbage. And he designed the damn things. He designed the sketches that the sculptors made into these figures. And the story behind it is they've done all these figures and all these lines. And he'd actually put forth some of these ones, such as Scratch and Hotspot, a couple of years earlier as just they're under the crunch. He's an in-house Mirage guy that's worked on the comics. He's worked on Mirage comics. He's worked on doing toy designs for Playmates. These guys have got no free time. They've got families. They've got jobs, shit to do. They're just cranking out designs one after another. And this is just something he cranked out when he's like, tired and didn't really give a shit. And they went, no, this is rejected. We're not making this. And then they made all these other toys and like the line's doing gangbusters. Come on, guys, we need more design. So he resubmitted something and it got rejected again. But the third time around, they're like, oh, we're going to make these because they've run out of toys to make. They're still shit.
Third time was the charm. And ironically, though, once again,
they're not the worst figures.
Some of the
most,
like they are the worst figures. They're most expensive to find. They're so expensive if you want to pick them up.
No one wanted them, and they had no connection to any of the media or cartoons. Never appeared in the show or the comics or nothing. And they came out right at the end of the line when no one gave a shit. I remember seeing that bloody I don't know if I saw Scratch, but I saw the Hotspot dog in a shop and no one wanted it and sat there for months and no one gave. A lot of them went out on clearance. They also got made in smaller numbers and had smaller distribution worldwide. So it wasn't a wave that was terribly available anyway. But that's the reason it's so expensive now. No one wanted them. They were shit by the admission of the guy who designed them. And they sat around on clearance. So I think, to me, they're some of the most garbage. They're not the worst sculpts. I would happily buy them cheap. If they're a reissue, I would buy them, no problem. But they're some of the most garbage figures in the whole line. And then for them to become valuable is just, to me, it's what's wrong with modern collecting. I'm like, fuck off. I would never buy a crazy overpriced cat. But I do have the Super 7 cat. And he's actually really nice. Because they actually took the idea of it and made him much more interesting. Made him almost look like a Looney Tunes kind of character, give him way more detailed design. Like the pose he's in, like Shredder's really awful the way he stands and everything. But yeah, the Robot Bebop and Rocksteady are amazing. They're beautiful figures. And they also did, if we go over here, hang on, just got to go get out of this thing here. There we go. So there's these reissues there before I opened them. I took a quick photo of the Bebop and Rocksteady. You get little minifigure accessories, like one's a rabbit, I think that one's a rat or something. They came in a nice slipcase box. It has really cool artwork on it. And then that's the Super 7 Rocksteady there, who, unfortunately, no vac metal, but he does have at least a silver reflective metal. So he looks quite cool, and he's massive. So I was pretty excited to be able to get to own the Bebop and Rocksteady robot versions in that, because I'm never going to be able to get the vintage ones because they cost the absolute fortune.
Not on Hotspot. He just looks terrible.
It
Least appealing figure ever, It's like a toddler's toy, essentially. Like It's like, I'm the dog. He puts out the fires. Ruff, ruff, ruff.
The Mona Lisa one's not bad, and that one's actually probably one of the more affordable figures to find secondhand. And it's got a reasonably
if I remember,
nice
she's got the rubbery material like the movie.
Yes, rubbery. And then we've got some other late wave dudes. This one's a mix again. This is kind of the repacks. We've got Flock Splinter from the movie special ones. We've got that Dr. Owl. We've got the Monty Moose, one of Badger's favorites. We've got the Fish Dude Merman. We've got the Cave April. King Lionheart is quite a nice figure and usually pricey. We've got the stripper Lady of the Night April that I found out only this year. The original sculpt of that was actually meant to be Yvonne from Toxic Crusaders for Playmates, but they cancelled Wave 2 and they repurposed that figure into Ninja Turtle. So that's why there's a Lady of the Night April with the fluffy hair. It was meant to be Yvonne, who was like the blonde bimbo from Toxic Crusaders cartoon. And we get Mondo in his like gravitational outfit and his Terry Funk pants, funking out the 60s. We get a really nice Space Usagi, and we get April, probably the nicest version of April they did in the vintage, redone. She's got yellow but nice highlights. She's got windswept hair that's a lot more like the cartoon style.
About April, I still have mine on the card. Absolute beauty of a figure.
You have that actual one?
I have the actual one on its card.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It's sitting in the cabinet.
I bet you're glad you got that one, and not the cave one or the Lady of the Night one.
Oh yeah, very happy.
Not that there's anything wrong with sexy cave ladies, Lady of the Night. I'm not knocking them, but I'll take the original yellow one with upgrades, and now she's got the proper bob windswept stylized hair, which I didn't know till recently. But following on from last catalog one, remember found out Peter Chung of Eon Flux fame. It did the original design for the Krang android. Guess who did the hair for April? Not for the toy, but for the artwork, for the opening animation. Peter Chung. He's the one that came up with that hair. Remember how she comes up real close to the camera and it's literally like the wind is blowing through her. He's the one that came up with that. And it's why that opening has such an anime style. He actually did some of the key design for the original opening, which I only found out in the last few weeks.
It's like someone's had an accidental mutagen spill in this.
Yeah, the background's cool. It's got like real sewer, nasty, like calcium lime rust going on mutagen.
I like Hothead. I'd like to get that figure. He's expensive.
Yeah,
Dr. L, it's a cool figure as well.
I think they're all pretty cool. They're all a bunch of weirdos. And Hothead was, he's called a different name, but he was in the Archie Ninja Turtles comics, and he was a good guy, not a bad guy. And he was just a regular dude, and he transformed like the Hulk into a kaiju-sized dragon. And there's an iconic cover in the Archie series where it's him next to he's as big as the Statue of Liberty in the dragon mode, and he's fighting a giant foot soldier robot that for some reason they built just in that. It comes out of this big warehouse, and it's basically like a kaiju battle with this big dragon versus a giant foot ninja robot. It was quite a memorable issue of the Archie series, and he's just a regular dude. Like when he changes back like the Hulk, he's just like a Dr. Banner sized guy again when he's not the big dragon.
Yeah, I think I like to see that they're continuing the tradition as well of having characters that only have like one piece of footwear. Hothead, he's
Zazel loves one with a one shoe, one no shoe. That's his mission in life, is to collect all those kind of figures.
Even His Majesty King Lionheart only has one boot.
I'm guessing that was a mirage. I don't know who came up with that, whether it was the artists or sculptors. I'd like to know the story behind that, because it seems like a mirage indie comics things to me, just to be weird for the sake of it.
Yeah, well, it appears so many times in the line. There's definitely something to it.
Yeah, you had like Worm. You got like Muckman. There's such a distinctive
General Trag.
feature.
Yeah, they so
Scumbag.
Many getting into more the classic guys now.
Yeah. You know, that Sergeant Bananas, if I go on eBay Australia, sells about $100. But if I go on eBay US, he sells for $20, and there's loads of them. So I've been looking him up a lot lately. And there was a mixed lot last month that I should have bought, had him and about 5 other figures for under $100. And I should have bought it just to get him.
Yeah, I'd like to get him too. Might have to task maybe some of our American friends with hanging on to one.
If you look on eBay, there's like about 100 listings from him right now for about $20 each. It's a common figure. It's not rare. But I mean, it's common in America, but I think it's less common and certainly it's common in Australia. But yeah, this is our early wave, guys. We get all our classics.
Yeah, I love seeing our favorites here. Ace Duck, Usagi, Wingnut, Muckman. Beautiful, beautiful figures here. That chrome on Metalhead. Yeah, your Ace Duck has his wings on. Yeah.
Yeah, I only got him about a year ago. He's got his hat. There you go. He's got his hat there, and he's got his wings, and he's not faded or whatever. He's really nice condition, and he shouldn't be sitting on the floor in a box loose by my feet, but he is. So that's how careless I am with toys. He's getting
Well, for
sorted.
today's video, it came in handy to have them close
Yeah.
to hand.
Yeah, this is just stuff I'm sorting. It's not for the video. It's just sitting on the floor because I was sorting stuff this week to put away. Because I've got one more shelf to put up behind me. When I finally get the shelf on the back wall, I'll be able to have all my vintage turtles out, my spillover NECA and Super 7 ones that no longer fit on the shelves because there's more than 30 figures each in those ones now. And this is just an extra Usagi. I've got 3 Usagis. That's what the common one looks like if you get them second hand. Can you see what's missing on there?
Ears. Yeah.
Because they're quite fragile and they would snap off when kids play with them or chuck them in the old toy trunk and wherever, toy chest. But he's still in all right condition otherwise. But he's just a junker. I only got him with the mixed lot. I've got proper Usagis that have nice ears. But he's one to kind of mess around with. And I've been toying with the idea of picking up some more junkers to swap the limbs and try and come up with some kind of Frankenstein mutant combination.
I had the impression here that for 1993, obviously they still have all these figures lying around to do photo shoots, but they don't necessarily have their like accessories and stuff. So like some people just know it. Like Metalhead has no accessories, you know.
And you can really see that seeing like these are kind of like reissues across waves 1 to 3 pretty much. You can really see the different aesthetics on them and the different kind of it's the same basic engineering, but there's like look at Splinter compared to Metalhead, and then Metalhead compared to Mondo, and Mondo like there's really quite different styles and different kind of engineering going into them. It's pretty cool.
Once again, some great diorama work being done here with the actual sewer water coming out.
Yeah, I think they reused that one from the other catalog. I'm not sure.
Looks good though. Wouldn't blame them for reusing it.
And it's funny that you can take the earlier wave stuff and put them towards the back of the catalog. And this is still a really impressive bunch of looking figures if you're putting these guys out again at retail. Good looking figures. I had another
evergreen figures.
Fun purchase on Amazon this week. They had some stuff on sale. So I'm going to hijack the screen for a minute here and go share and open up my Amazon tab. Now, this reissue set's been out for, I want to say at least a couple of years. This has been around. But here we get the 2 turtles are like redos. Oh, my window's been quite strange. I'm jumping around the screen. The 2 turtles are like redos of ones that they did in the comic book style. They've done a black and white version, and it's like the comic style turtles, but they've repainted them into the animation colors. Never had much of the desire for these figures. You can see the Mirage style because see they've got the tail that points down that they don't like to have on retail figures. So this is like the 3rd or 4th repaint of these ones they put out a number of years ago. This one's interesting. Can you see what's different about him other than he just looks weird?
So like to me that looks like vintage Splinter but with his eyeballs painted.
Yeah, eyeballs painted and then just a weird like, I don't know, American Gladiator's outfit, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah. Art Foundation robe or something like. He just looks kind of white belt.
It's so weird looking, and I'm just like, well, it's just a fun variant, and it's on sale. And then over here we've got they did 3 versions of Man Ray in the original line, and Gojitron was kind enough to pick me one up a few months ago from here because I couldn't get a hold of the bloody thing, which I now have on my shelf. This one is one of the variants in different colors on his chest. So it's 4 figures I don't have basically because you got variant, and 2 different sculpted ones. The actual sculpting for these comes again from the Nickelodeon area. You can see it in the arms and the legs. They've got that same movement as Nickelodeon ones. That's the base of the parts they use in those big chunky feet. So this set was 90 Australian. Then it was on sale for 80, and I was going, I might get that because that's $20 per figure. Then I was about to buy it. The next day, it was $40. I'm like, I'm getting that right now.
Yeah.
So that was a real bargain, just like one of those Black Friday sales or whatever. Really good bargain picking that up. So I should have that hopefully in a week's time or so. And now we've got more classics. It's a real mix of like early wave stuff. We've got Krang, Foot Soldier, General Trag, Triceraton, Mutagen Man. But then we've got later wave stuff. We've got Dirtbag. We've got the movie style Foot Soldier, who's he's undersized, but he's a cool figure. Pizza Face, Scumbug, Anthrax, Taco and Raza, Chrome Dome, and that snake dude I forget the name of. He's quite pricey to get. I've never owned the snake
Scale
dude.
Tail. I'd love to get
Yeah,
a Scale Tail.
and he's a
That's
weird
one of the
figure.
most
He doesn't
unique
even have
stuff.
legs. He's a proper snake man with no legs or anything.
Yeah, really, really different looking figure compared to the rest. I just
He's
love
very cool.
seeing this
Great
mix of
sculpting.
the mix of older guys and newer guys here.
Yeah,
Like
so many different styles.
it's great seeing the movie bodies mixed in just with these guys too.
Yeah, they're cool. Like I finally have both the movie Tocker, that one there that's FF on the right. I've got him a couple of years ago, cheap. And then just about 3 months ago, I got that movie Tocker, the W figure. And for some reason, the same guy had a listing. He had 2 listings for Raza, and he had one for like $50, and then one for 40, and there's 2 of them. So now I've got 2 of that bloody figure, and one of them's missing a couple of his panel parts or whatever, but he has all his limbs. I'm like, why are you selling? I didn't ask him. I was like, why are you selling 2 of them for less than the price than the other one that you have? It's like the same condition and same parts. I'm like, I'm buying the cheaper one. So I've got them. They're vintage, and then I've got the movie. He's Super Shredder from movie 2, where he's Kevin Nash technically.
Yeah.
I've got him because they did a reissue of him last year, and we got the box set in Australia. The Krang I finally got in the reissue set because I've still vintage ones are too pricey. I've never had a Triceratops before this year, and now I've got 2 of them I picked up. And I think I've still got my old Baxter. Never owned Anthrax, who's the ant dude. He's a really cool figure. But I do have the NECA cartoon one, so and I've got a
Weird.
random Chrome Dome I picked up last year for like $20. I don't know how I got it. It's just randomly real cheap one day. And all the chrome is intact and perfect on it. Oh, and Dirtbag. I got him in the last 6 months, and Pizza Face.
Like notice that Toka and Mutagen Man just seem to be
Yeah.
standing on a pile of random flat rocks. Isn't that strange? It's like they must not have been tall enough. They needed the boost them a little bit.
Yeah, like actually nearly half the figures in this lot here are all different waves I got in the last 12 months. So they've never owned. I've been trying to get for like 20 years. I've got Mutagen Man now because they've reissued him, a proper reissue with the actual accessories and original card in the last few months. But I haven't opened them. I've got to open them sometime in the next week or so. But I'm going to make a video about it because it's the last. If you go back to the original 3 or 4 waves, all the figures I really wanted from that was like the last figure just in the last couple of months to get from those waves I wanted as a kid.
Yeah, no, these last couple of pages, I love seeing these. It's the mix of the older and the newer ones kind of
Yeah,
thrown
and it's
together.
cool
It
seeing them all
reminds me of my
together.
own shelves.
Mm.
It's like a collector's shelf almost.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Like I can't wait till I get my next big shot. I've got to go to the hardware store. Well, first I've got to remeasure all the measurements that I did several years ago. And then the reason I haven't bought that shelf for about 3 years now is I was out of work for a period of time. So previously when I went to I measured it all, went to buy one, and all of a sudden I had no fucking income and I couldn't buy it. I mean, to get a shelf's about $300 to get a good proper steel kit one from the hardware store that's strong and it's gonna be a big fucking shelf. So I couldn't get it, and it was a real sore point for a long time not being able to get it. And then when I was working again, there was too many figures and stuff coming out. I was like, no, I want these Jada Street Fighters. I want these NECA Turtles. And once I get them, that's it. Like the next 10 years, they're not this fuck all else I'm going to want. There's a point where I'm just going to stop buying stuff and I don't care about a lot of other things. So I'm like, well, they're always going to make shelves. They're not always going to make action figures. There's always going to be shelves at the bloody hardware store. There's stacks of them. They're not going to, it's not going to be like, Chrome, Bebop, and Rocksteady. So I went, whatever, stuff can sit at the back. Once I get that shelf up, I can finally put out all my vintage turtles at the same time, as in all good guys and bad guys. And then all this crazy NECA and Super 7 stuff, which I had no intention of ever buying. But once I got into it, I got hooked and I just loved it so much. I kept buying them. But I've got pretty much everything I want from those lines. So it'll be great to finally get a shelf up and actually get these guys out. I've got the big NECA giant size movie turtles, the 18-inch ones, which are the best giant size turtles ever. I've also got a whole bunch of other giant size turtles from different lines. Like I've got the Rise ones. I've got the 2012 ones. I've got some other stuff. I'm going to finally be able to get them all on the shelf at the same time and put my NECA Super Shredder, the movie Foot Soldiers, the movie 4 turtles, the regular 6-inch ones. I've never taken out of the box because I haven't had space for the shelf. I'm going to finally get all them out on the shelf, all next to each other at the same time. So I'm looking forward to that very much. None of these guys will be on that shelf. There won't be any farmer turtles.
But we will have. I do always like Private Pork Nose, Bebop.
Yeah, they're cool. I like
Rocksteady.
I like all the variants of Bebop and Rocksteady, no matter what they are.
I always like the way that Bebop's actually wearing a purple uniform, so he's like almost like a official foot soldier commander.
Yeah.
Suits him.
Yeah, the mutant military ones. I almost had the not this is Mutant Military 2, but Mutant Military 1, where Raph's in the camo outfit. I almost bought that a month ago, and someone had it listed on eBay for like $20, but it was like bids, and no one bid on it for a week, and it just got delisted and relisted the next week because no one bid on it. So the next week, I bid on it when it had a day left. So I thought, okay, it's going for $20. No one wants it, and then some asshole outbid me in the last minutes of the transaction or whatever it was. And I also ordered another figure from the same guy just to get the combined postage because I'm not paying like, it's like $20 figure combined, and then postage was $10 for the two. I'm not paying an additional $10 for what just to get one stupid figure when I missed the other one. So I messaged the guy and said, sorry, I wanted that other figure. I was only after the second one to get the combined postage. Can you please just cancel it? He's like, oh, you're an idiot for not expecting someone to outbid you at the last minute. And I just thought, fuck off. I'm not going to message you back. I'm not ever buying anything from you again. You're a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
The same figures on eBay all the fucking time for that cheap price. I'm like, oh, this guy was just a dick. And I just went, nah, don't need to deal with this person ever again.
That Navy SEAL Mike is a pretty cool version of Mike as well.
Yeah, he's like super like detailed, and it's like stealth ops Mike.
Yeah, totally out of place here in this diorama,
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I think he might get a bit dry in the desert diorama.
Yeah. Then again, it's weird just seeing Bebop and Rocksteady like standing alongside their enemies for this posed picture.
Yeah. So what about these other dudes, the Wacky Wild West turtles? I don't like any of these, but again, if they reissued them when they were cheap, I would probably buy them. If they were cheap, I would probably buy them. But I'm not craving them. I've never tried to buy them. I don't look for them on eBay.
I'm the same. I'm kind of like I think we're of a similar mindset when it comes like I can't really understand the desire for people to own these.
Yeah.
And yet, if you put them
the
to
only
me
ones
at
that
an
make sense
affordable
to be
price,
a
I would
Michelangelo, because in the
up.
shows he's always a goofball, so he might dress up in any kind of stupid outfit. But the rest of them, not so much.
Yeah, it's just a weird. Like it's not quite as low.
Wacky Wild West Warriors.
Yeah, at least it's not the birthday turtles or the farmer turtles or whatever.
Well, they've got decent sculpting on them. I'm just like, but why are they dressed like this? They're just nonsense.
Yeah, we're getting into some these fucking birthday turtles, like the state of them, the actual state of them. They're just terrible.
That's like Killer Clowns from Outer Space Mike. Like he's got no place in my collection.
Like, where's the what's the play value there? Like, what's the action or the theme that you're going to be going for?
I guess it's the outfit, but that Killer Clown Mike, he looks like he's had just a few too many pizzas as well. Like, look at his midsections, like, whoa.
Yeah, like Killer Clown Mike's like that clown in Uncle Buck that shows up pissed for the kids' party.
Shows up drunk.
Like, because don't get me wrong, like even though the sports turtles wouldn't really be my jam, but I could still see
if you like sports, if you like those, if you were into baseball or basketball, I can see the appeal for it, but I don't care about any of those sports.
Yeah, but like those
the weightlifting one, maybe. But I'm sorry, but if you've got a weightlifting one, give that to Raph, who's usually the strongest of the turtles if you go by the traditional versions. Like Donatello, no, he's the scientist. Why is he lifting Olympic weights like Mark Henry?
See the way for these birthday turtles, it actually has in the little blurb, it's perfect for birthday gift giving. So they're clearly designed. It's
kids
for
want
people
the regular
who
turtles.
Don't know. But that's the thing. It's people who don't know anything about turtles. You have to pick up a present for the kid's birthday, so you literally
might put it on top of the cake.
Yeah, It's just so dodgy, like, because like, what child is going to come up with a play scenario for these
Well,
birthday
I
turtles?
do like the one on the left in the birthday, and I can't tell if it's meant to be Donnie or Leo in the colors. I guess it's Don the Pill, but the head sculpt's quite nice. If you take all like the Hulk Hogan bib and stuff off him, the sculpt looks nice.
Yeah, he's probably the least offensive. If that hat was
Yeah,
removable, he's probably the least
take that
offensive
off,
of
and you've got a reasonable looking Donatello. It's got quite a cool face on it. But yeah, some of these are nonsense. Like I don't mind these ones though, the Bebop and Rocksteady punching ones, but I don't want to be mucking about with this gun squeezy thing on the figure. I can
yes,
pass on that. It's like Rock'em
and
Sock'em
also
Bebop Rocksteady.
they're teasing us here with a ring that does not exist. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, this has nothing to do with anything.
no, that's just for the product shot.
But here, Farmer Mike with his turtle tractor, like, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel now, like, for ideas.
Is he farming pizzas? Like, what's he farming?
Yeah. And this tractor, is it like a slow getaway vehicle? Like, what are you going to do with
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if you play San Andreas enough and you drive every vehicle because you played it like 2 years nonstop, at some point you're going to drive a tractor a really long distance and drive it off a cliff.
Yeah. You know you've hit peak boredom when you're like doing a police chase going in a really slow
Yeah.
tractor and you just don't
Or
care
the
anymore.
other one, Vice City, you go to the airport and get like the baggage handlers, like the slowest moving thing in the game, and try and get away from the police with that. I'm going to read the blurb just because like it's probably the most dumbest turtle released ever. So I'll read the blurbs. Farmer Mike with turtle tractor. New exclamation mark, as if we didn't fucking know. It's like when Mike gets tired of the rat race, no offense, Splinter, he likes to get back to nature, farm on the land with his classic turtle style tractor and grow all natural pizza. I've never read that. I just said it a minute ago. It's a gag. He's farming all natural pizzas. Now that's a life, and it's only available here ages 4. Fuck do you farm pizzas? They'd be covered in mold and birds and bugs eating them.
What is the pizza seed of which these pizzas sprout from? I wonder. You know,
Maybe mutagen is like the secret
yeah,
sauce.
maybe that's it. Yeah, all natural mutagen, retro mutagen
Oh man.
ooze pizzas.
And I love that it mentions that it's the turtle style tractor, like they're ninjas that hide in the sewers. At what point do they go out to the custom joint and get a big tractor and say, pump my ride, turn it into a turtle themed tractor? They'll go, wait a minute, could this be linked to those mysterious ninjas that were rumored to exist on Channel 6? Should we be calling the
No,
police about this farmer?
the only thing Farmer Mike is growing is some weed. I think there's no
that would
there's no
that would
pizzas being
that would
grown.
make the most sense because he is like that bloody what's his name character from that movie.
Like Foley.
Yeah, it's partially based on that too. So now we get some cave turtles and some dinosaurs that have like the turtle headbands on them. And this was like another one of those jumping the shark movements where I'm like, back then I'm like, these are just stupid. But then the dinosaur fan in me looks back and goes, well, the dinosaur is actually quite nice sculpts, and the turtles are nicely sculpted and different. I would happily pick these up if they were cheap, but they're not cheap.
Yeah, they're never cheap. They're never cheap. And yeah, they are fun. And I like when you actually see them in their kind of window packaging boxes. They look really
Yeah,
nice
the
and
boxes are
colorful.
nice.
But yeah, total jumping of the shark stuff here. And it's like, oh, dinosaur 1993. I wonder what else was
Yeah, you
popular
got
in
Dino
1993.
Riders, Jurassic Park, all the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
He-Man did dinosaurs right at the end. And you can almost tell if you look at the catalogs from He-Man in order and Turtles, it's almost like they just went, what did He-Man do towards the end of the line? Well, we've got to have dinosaurs and go to space and do stuff. It's like they just read ideas and went, let's just steal stuff that He-Man already done several years ago.
Anything is an improvement though over, birthday turtles. Like birthday turtles are the lowest, so it's all an improvement from there.
Well, at least they're all original sculpting. Like the turtles and those dinosaurs are all original parts. Like I don't know if they maybe the foot or the hand. I don't know if they reused anything in there because they're all buff and they're all Ultimate or Hulk Hogan sized dudes.
I would
So you
love
get
to get
pizza
a
powered
Technodrome
parachute.
Scout.
Yeah,
The
Technodrome
Technodrome
Scout's
Scout
awesome.
vehicle
That's
is
another
cool.
one's in Philator's collection. He has that. I've never seen it. I've never owned it. I hope they've reissued that because I'd love to buy it. They're doing Mutant Module next year. They're doing the CAALLLL playset next year. Hopefully they won't shrink the damn thing like they did with the Technodrome, that fucking hullabaloo. But maybe the following year we might get this Technodrome Scout if they continue doing these traditional things.
You never know. As seen in the Turtle cartoon show, I don't remember the mini Technodrome being in the cartoon, but maybe I'm
No, it
thinking,
wasn't.
maybe
Never
I haven't
was.
seen it.
Didn't,
Good,
that
good.
wasn't in
Not
the show.
good for you.
We only got the Mutant Module. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's not on the show. And neither was the pizza powered parachute with the Americana flag. Don showing his patriotism for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like when we looked at the previous catalogs, there are other variations of that parachute gimmick that they just stuck on other turtles as well. They just
no
another
parachute gimmicks are for like $2 plastic army man. You get the shops, and they get stuck on the tree, and the wind takes them off on the fucking roof, and then you go back to the shop and get another one. They're not for Ninja Turtles. Ninja Grappler.
Interesting looking vehicle. Somewhat
I feel like
boring,
this
but
could be
also
in kind of Aliens or
makes
something.
sense. Yes, yeah, very 90s Kenner vibe off here. You know, it's actually a real. I'm getting Toxic Crusaders vibes off this
Yeah,
vehicle.
Toxic Crusaders and Tmnt Playmates. It feels that kind of feel to it.
Poor old foot soldier, those having a bad time.
And
once again, we see it's
he's
the
got stuck
movie
by the prize
Leo that's
machine.
doing the piloting.
Yeah, I definitely never saw this one in the stores. Like I've only ever seen it in the catalogs. A lot of the vehicles I never saw in shops because once the line went from being at the peak where it's just in every shop everywhere, where it's only in like specialty stores or the more upmarket stores that can afford to still stock them. Back in New Zealand, Christchurch, you didn't get a whole lot of toys in stores. If it wasn't Batman or Star Wars, you didn't get a whole lot in the shops. So vehicles were something you might get the basic figure. Often you wouldn't see vehicles at all in the stores. So other than like Technodrome or Turtle Van and that. So all these extra vehicles, I didn't know till years later they'd made so many vehicles. It's very much is a lot like the He-Man line, the way they modeled some of the gimmicks and just they did this massive range of crazy vehicles, just like the Motu line.
And into some more classic looking. You see, this is a missed
Samurai
opportunity here.
Scooter,
Really,
but with the movie Turtle and not a Samurai Turtle.
yes, exactly. It's just like total missed opportunity. Totally missed opportunity. But the classic party wagon. And I've seen this photo before. I think we talked about this the last time. The front of that party wagon actually has the turtle logo is coming outwards, whereas on the actual vehicle it sinks into the front. So I always think that's interesting. It's
Yeah, I
obviously
still never
a
owned the
prototype.
original one. I've played with it as a kid at a mate's house because he had the van and he had the blimp, so I got to muck around with him. He also had that Pizza Power board game. It was probably the worst board game in existence.
I'm also noticing here that this turtle van in the picture has actual windows at the back. It's not just stickers for windows. That's interesting. On my one,
And
it's just got
what about
two
the sticker on the
stickers.
big fin? It's like orange and yellow. Is that the proper colors on the retail one or not?
I'm looking over at mine. I think, mine's kind of faded, but I think it's similar enough colors.
I've never owned that, but I've got like the most recent one from the Mutant Mayhem is a really good quality one, and it's got a cool gimmick where the whole thing slides out from the middle, similar to how that one comes out of the back, but it comes out of the middle, and it's actually got the that pizza firing crazy big thing. It's got that gimmick where the pizzas fire out of the mechanism that's in there, but you need batteries. I've got that one, and I've got another one back from the previous line, the CGI cartoon line. That one did a nice one that I picked up on sale one day. That's quite big and bulky, and it's comparable size to that or slightly larger, so it fits most turtles from various lines. So I'm pretty happy with those versions because they're pretty much modeled on this original one, but I've got more room and more accessories and functional gimmicks on it. So we've got the Sewer Sand Cruisers back again.
Yes. Now, I actually don't mind the Sewer Sand Cruiser. It's weird. This you can't put the figures inside it, from what I remember. It's only
No, it
on
doesn't
the
look like you
outside, even though it's got drawings of figures or like
can. Yeah.
characters inside. And I think we spoke before about this bubble bomber. They've kind of ruined it with its own gimmick. Like if you didn't have that
Yeah.
big stupid trigger on it to activate the
Yeah, it's
balls
crazy.
rolling. It's very wacky looking vehicle though. They're both wacky looking vehicles.
And like the bombs are like birds. I'm like that. I'm sure that's quite ethical.
Yeah. Kamikaze birds, you
They're not
know.
even mutant birds. They're just regular birds. They're just like, fuck it. We'll just strap them under the wing for a bomb. I'm sure they're quite happy to be there.
Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss with the military vehicles sometimes, I think,
Yeah.
in their designs.
It was a real thing too of this era. I mean, Turtles started in the 80s. I mean, the toy line and the cartoon and comics, and then spilled over into the 90s for their kind of peak. But other 80s toy lines, whether Transformers, Joe, they all had moments where they copied other lines. Transformers started copying Micromasters. G.I. Joe started doing like fucking Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter stuff when they ran other things, as well as going into space and Generation 2 and weird colors and water change gimmicks. They all went through all these different gimmicks. Motu did it as well. Like all did these kind of ran ideas and all copied gimmicks from other existing toys, if not other existing main lines. So they're all kind of like just like cannibalizing each other.
Yeah, just looking over each other's shoulders and trying to get the skivvy on what the competition is doing.
So I got the
These are
Krang's android body, which I assume is you can never tell from a picture whether it's big or small. I assume that's a giant size one because it's got all the nice detailing and silver bits in there. And it looks like it's got the proper, that fits the original Krang figure, whereas the smaller one has a miniature version of Krang inside it.
yes, over 11 inches tall. It is
There we
definitely
go, 11
impressive,
inches. Yeah,
impressive
assume
figure.
that's the big one. We get the ninja. Oh, speaking of cannibalizing toy lines, you know what the Ninja Practice Pals are borrowed from?
They have to be the wrestling buddies.
Yeah, the wrestling
definitely.
buddies. And WCW did their own version of wrestling buddies. I remember seeing a DDP one in the stores. They were a massively popular toy. Not in Turtles, the wrestling buddies were massively popular. So they got copied by a lot of other toy lines. And kids loved to playing with those things because they really could wrestle with them and jump on them and throw them around instead of just like beating up their brother in it.
Here for you to practice your ninja skills. And look, I'm not trying to criticize the company, but they kind of were cutting corners in the sense that they, apart from the different shades of green, they've given all the turtles the exact same belt and facial expression.
And it even says Ninja Turtles instead of like their letter on the belt.
Yes, yeah.
Just in case you don't know it's
corners.
Ninja Turtles.
Still pretty cool. I'm sure they're hard to find these days. That there aren't.
Yeah, I've never seen them. I mean, they make sense as far as a release, as far as your supplementary products. You've got your core action figure, toys, play sets, vehicles. Then you got sleeping bags, plush, I don't know, key rings, stuff like that, and little lolly containers, and used to get at the shops. Got our turtle
communicator is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind one of those. Retro Mutant Ooze, it's all gone off and oozed and decomposed by now. The box is cool though.
Yeah, and I'd never actually I know we've seen it now in the picture a couple of times. In the real world, I never came across the purple version. It was always the green one that I came across in the shops.
Of the ooze?
Not that I ever bought it. The purple one must be for mutating the bad guys, and the green one's for mutating the good guys.
Yeah, I don't even really remember the ooze. I guess it was probably in certain stores, but like it depends on how they displayed it. And I know it existed because you got the minifigure or whatever. But I don't know. I must have bought some because I don't remember having the ooze, but I remember having the minifigure of the little glowy turtles. So I must have had a couple because I had several of those turtles.
Yeah, I still remember the good old
days.
days.
Bubble Sword is another hard pass. Can't say I've ever been desiring that one.
And probably something they still produce to this day.
Yeah.
Oh, look, here it is.
So now we're getting right to the end, but they're showing off the classics again, the Technodrome and Sewer playset, which of course connect via the sewer pipe, and then I did buy the reissue of the Technodrome. Haven't opened it yet because I'm going to have to sticker the son of a bitch when I do. And if I open it and don't sticker it, within 24 hours it'll be covered in dust from our house and be a big mess. So I'm not going to open it until I've got time to sticker it. And then unfortunately shrank it down by a couple of inches for who knows. There's all sorts of speculative videos on YouTube. Bobby Val has talked about it, that other one, that guy that does the docos who films Valor and films that other toy store, and that he's talked about it and done comparisons. No one knows why they shrank it down, and Playmates is just tight-lipped. They're not saying nothing about it. And I'm sure their
Playmates,
PR team has said, don't say nothing because it'll just fuel the fire.
Yeah, Playmates never open their mouths when it comes to that stuff. They just keep
Well, they
quiet
haven't done it
about
on anything else. Like the most dodgiest thing I've seen in the last decade or so, when they did a reissue of the vintage Ninja Turtles blimp, it was not the vintage Ninja Turtles blimp. It was a fucking blimp from the 2012 line, the undercarriage, which is a completely different molded part. They used that, but then they had the inflatable dirigible part on top. So they mixed two different toys that were 20 lines apart, 20 years apart together, and then called it the vintage reissue, which it wasn't. There was a different, you can call it a variant, call it what the fuck you want.
Yes.
But they basically lied to people. And they've kind of done it again with the reissue of the Technodrome. They didn't say, by the way, we shrank it down and things don't quite fit inside it properly anymore. And characters, just like He-Man can't walk through the vintage Masters castle because they fucked up the height of the door when they made that. They shrunk the Technodrome, and now the characters can't fit through the little tunnel passageway thing.
It was a tight enough fit as it was to begin with.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's even smaller now.
It doesn't bother me in any way because I've never fucking owned one. It's the first one I've ever had. So if people hadn't went on about it, I wouldn't even know, and I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But they have genuinely cut corners, shrunk it down, the eyeball smaller, the mass is smaller, and where the turtle was supposed to be on these torture bed Barker lounges spinning around disco circle things, the gimmicks don't work the same because they've shrunk the size, but they haven't shrunk the figures, so they have fucked up in that way. But I bought it as a display piece. I'm not going to be using those gimmicks as a display thing. I want to have on my shelf, and it doesn't bother me. But it is shitty. It is shitty they did that.
Hopefully, when they do the sewer playset, they keep it inside.
Yeah, if they shrink that, they won't be able to stand up because they already hit their heads as it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, if they do that, I might not buy it. If they actually do that, I'm definitely going to wait for reviews until people have it in hand, and I'll be like, well, if they can't stand up inside it, I'm not fucking buying it because why would I?
I hope that kid got his royalty checks for the years they've been using this picture, because we've been seeing this kid.
Remember, he went on to actually manage WCW. That's little Eric Bischoff there with that nice model haircut.
Yeah, little candle.
I do know the one thing they highlighted in those comparisons with the reissue and vintage, at least the because my first thought was when they shrank it, I'm like, well, does that mean the sewer set next year won't connect to it? Well, they have to shrink that as well. The sewer connection port is the only thing they didn't shrink.
Interesting.
Because someone got a vintage piece and stuck it, and that does fit on there. So at least they didn't fuck that up, because if they weren't putting the sewer set out next year, then they would have shrunk their port as well, and wouldn't have, there would have been like, stuff you, who cares if it's not compatible. Because the other shonky thing they've been doing, if you've got vintage turtles and you've got new turtles, they've got different size foot pegs in them. You've got a vintage, this is a vintage reissue of that Super Bebop. This has got normal, I don't know, 5-6 inch foot pegs. Here's a McFarlane DC stand. It fits on that. That also fits like a vintage turtle. But if you get some of the other stuff, they've got foot pegs, and I finally worked out what it was, because I couldn't. It's a much bigger, crazy round foot peg. Like if I got a drill and made the hole about 4 times the size, it's a massive foot peg that doesn't fit on anything except for the 2012 Turtles play sets, and everything up from then till now, Mutant Mayhem, Rise, all has those bigger foot pegs. But some of the vintage reissues have those giant size foot pegs that are not compatible with any of the vintage stuff, but it will work on the post 2012 stuff. So I'm real curious whether what this sewer playset's going to have, because that's got little ports all over it. What size is that going to have?
Interesting to see what they'll go with in the end.
I wouldn't have even noticed if I didn't have so much turtles crap. But I was just mucking around, putting one thing here, and I was going, "Why is this different? Or this fits and this." Just like keep the same size, you bastards. Why change it? Keep it all the same and all. It used to be all compatible,
Yeah.
and then they fuck around with it. So yeah, that's the end of the catalog. And then when this is 2 weeks from now, we'll be doing. Oh, it's glitching out on me. 2 weeks from now, we're doing Toxic. Oh, so it might be 3 weeks. Anyway, several weeks from now, we're doing Toxic Crusaders, following on for another Playmates thing. We'll be looking at the catalog and toy line. There's only about 12 figures and a few vehicles, so we're going to look at the whole toy line of that in one hit. But next week we're doing WCW Beach Blast.
Oh yeah, going to be hitting the beach. Johnny needs to get in the water and cool down a bit.
Yep, I do. I'm there every other day, like going for bloody swims down the road here. But yeah, Beach Blast, that'll be some good fun. We'll see some Sting, Cactus Jack, and some other classic dudes from that era.
Looking forward to it. And folks, if any of you who have been listening along and watching today, are me and Johnny in the minority about these birthday turtles and farm turtles? Like, did you have them as a kid? Did you love them? Because I do sometimes worry, like, am I kind of taking a dump on something that somebody really liked? But
I
I just
don't think there's many people who are like the birthday turtles are my favorite, unless you were just that random kid and that was your first ever turtle and you got it on your birthday and you're like, who are these two assholes on YouTube dumping on my birthday turtles?
Yeah, how dare you? How dare you dump on my birthday turtles? But yeah, let us know, folks. And we got a lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, there's a sneak peek of what else is coming up. So we got Beach Blast next week. I'm cheating because it's from my Instagram post rather than having to bring up a separate file again. Because I lose track sometimes of what the fuck are you doing. We got Beach Blast. The following week, we got Transformers 1984, because I thought we might get to another catalog, because we're both big Transformers fans and haven't. Other than that episode where we talked about our favorite animated episodes, original show, we haven't really got back into it. And we've got Die Hard 2, Toxic Crusaders, and we've got the Wrestling Classic presented in WrestleVision.
WrestleVision.
So you will need your special WrestleVision glasses for that episode. They're complimentary.
Going to be good. Plenty of Boba Joe content coming your way, folks. It's all happening. It's a happening, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. I hope you enjoyed today's look at our Playmates 1993 catalog. An interesting year for sure.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff in there.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's about it for this week's ramble back down memory lane on the old turtles.
Well, folks, hope you've enjoyed it. I know my cat enjoyed it. He's been listening intently behind my head the whole time.
Listening in. He wants to know about that mutant military vehicle you were looking at. And I
He
could
wants to know
ride
about
around
that
on that and
scratch.
bash it around at night time at midnight and waking up.
He liked the look of April O'Neil as the cat lady from Channel 6.
Yeah, the cat lady.
Attention.
Okay, so thanks for checking out, folks. If you get a moment, appreciate leave a like and comment if you get a chance to. Cool.
Yeah. Take care, folks. See you next week.
So yeah.